This video is looking at scale recognition. Think of scale recognition questions as a spot the difference game. To play this game, we need to use the major scale as the comparison point and use the formulas that we learned in previous videos to identify the type of scale the question is displaying. Identifying the notes that have changed from the major scale will link us to a formula that we can use as the identification tool for the scale type. But before we begin, we need to recap on the different types of scales and the formulas we use to create these scales from a major scale. So, with our major in the centre of the screen, to create a natural minor scale, we flatten the third, the sixth and the seventh note of the major scale. To create a harmonic minor scale, we flatten the third and the sixth note of the major scale. To create a melodic minor scale, we flatten the third when we go up, and we flatten the third, the sixth and the seventh when we go down. Remember, a melodic minor scale is special because it changes on the way down. To create a major pentatonic, we remove the fourth and the seventh of the major scale. To create a minor pentatonic, we remove the second and the sixth note of the natural minor scale. To create a blues scale, we add an extra flat 5 to the minor pentatonic. To create a Dorian mode, we flatten the third and the seventh note of the major scale, and to create a Mixolydian mode, we flatten the seventh note of the major scale. These formulas are the tools that we will use to identify the scales when comparing them to the major scale. I'll show you how we do this as we unpack this idea further. So, identify this scale. Step 1, number the notes in the scale, 1 to 8. Step 2, identify the root, tonic or first note of the scale in question. The scale in the question starts on a G. Step 3, write the major scale of the root tonic note in question and number each scale degree. So here we write our G major scale and we number all the notes 1 through 8. Step 4, circle the notes that differ between the scales and identify how the notes are different. Between the G major scale and the G scale that the question is asking us to identify, we notice there are 3 notes that are different and they have all been flattened. Step 5, what scale type uses the flat 3, flat 6 and flat 7 formula? The answer is natural minor. And to identify this scale and write the answer of what this scale is, we combine step 2 and step 5 together. So the answer is a G natural minor scale. You can see how we're playing spot the difference. Let's try it again. Identify this scale. So step 1, once again, we number the notes from 1 through 8. Step 2, we identify the root tonic first note of the scale in question. This scale is also starting on G. Step 3 is we write the major scale of the root tonic note in question and number each scale degree. So once again, we write the G major scale and we number all the notes 1 through 8. Step 4 is we circle the notes that differ between the two scales and identify how they are different. In this question, there are only 2 notes that are different, the third and the sixth, and these have been flattened. What scale type uses the flat 3, flat 6 formula? The answer is harmonic minor. So when we combine step 2 and step 5, we get our answer, which is a G harmonic minor scale. Try this one. Step 1 is we number the notes in the scale. Now this scale is ascending and descending, meaning going up and down. We number the notes 1 through 8 and then 8 through 1. 1 through 8 symbolises the scale going up, and 8 through 1 symbolises the scale going down. Step 2 is we identify the root tonic or first note of the scale in question. Yet again, this scale starts on a G. Step 3, write the major scale of the root tonic note in question and number each scale degree. So we once again write the G major scale. This time, we've written the G major scale ascending and descending to reflect the question. Step 4, circle the notes that differ between the scales and identify how they are different. On the way up, we notice that only the third note has changed. It's been flattened. On the way down, we notice that the third, the sixth and the seventh note has changed and they have all been flattened. So, we ask ourselves what scale type uses the flat 3, flat 6, flat 7 formula on the way down and flat 3 formula on the way up. The answer is melodic minor. So when we combine step 2 and step 5 together, we find that the scale is a G melodic minor. So let's try and identify this scale. Step 1, we number the notes in the scale 1 through 8. Step 2 is we identify the root tonic first note of the scale in question. Yet again, this scale starts on a G. Step 3 is we write the major scale of the root or tonic note in question and number each scale degree or note. So yet again, we write out a G major scale and we number all the notes 1 through 8. We need to circle the notes that differ between the major scale and the scale in question. And we notice with this time that there are only 2 notes that are different, the 3rd and the 7th. The 3rd has been flattened and the 7th has been flattened. So which scale type uses the flat 3, flat 7 formula? It's a Dorian mode. So when we combine step 2 and step 5, we find that the answer is G Dorian. It's pretty straightforward. Identify this scale. Step 1, number all the notes 1 through 8. Step 2, identify the root or tonic note in question. Yet again, it's a G. Step 3 is we write out the major scale of the root or tonic note in question and number each scale degree or note. So we write out the G major scale and we number the notes in the scale 1 through 8. Step 4 is we circle the notes that differ between the scales and identify how the notes are different. In this question, only the 7th note has changed, it has been flattened. So step 5, we ask what scale type uses only the flat 7? The answer is Mixolydian. And when we combine step 2 and step 5, we find that the scale in question is a G Mixolydian. Try this scale. Step 1, number the notes in the scale. Did you notice that the 4th and the 7th are missing? Don't worry about that now, we'll talk about that in a second. Step 2, identify the root or tonic note or the first note in the scale. Yet again, this scale is a G. Now, let's go back to the 4th and 7th note that are missing. The fact that these 2 notes are missing from the scale can actually help us to easily identify it. Because of this, we can actually skip step 3 and step 4 and go straight to step 5. So, what scale type uses the remove the 4th and 7th notes formula? It's a major pentatonic. So, when we combine steps 2 and 5 together, we get our answer, which is a G major pentatonic. Try this scale. First, number the notes in the scale from 1 through 8. Notice how there's no 2nd or 6th note? Just keep that in mind and we'll refer to that in a minute. Step 2, identify the tonic note. Yet again, this is a type of G scale. Now, going back to the missing 2 and 6th notes in the scale. The fact that these 2 notes are missing can help us to easily identify what sort of scale it is. So, we can skip step 3 and 4 and go straight to step 5. So, what type of scale uses the remove 2 and 6 formula? The answer is a minor pentatonic. So, we combine step 2 and step 5 and find that the type of scale is a G minor pentatonic. Identify this scale. Step 1, number all the notes. Now, before we go on, you'll notice a couple of things. Firstly, there is no 2nd or 6th note. But you will also notice that there are 2 5th notes, one flat 5 and one natural 5. We'll talk about that in a second. Step 2, identify the tonic. Yet again, this is a type of G scale. So, firstly, did you notice that there are no 2nd or 6th notes, and that there are 2 5th notes? One natural 5 and one flat 5. Because of these identifying features, we can actually skip step 3 and 4 and go straight to step 5. So, what type of scale adds an extra flat 5? There's only one type of scale that uses the flat 5, so we can hone in on this element. And the answer is a blues scale. So, this type of scale is a G blues scale. As you can see, this is quite a straightforward method, and this method always works. Let's try it using different keys to prove a point. The presentation for this version is going to be reduced, so we're not going to go through all the steps visually, but I will talk through all of the steps with you. So, question 1, identify this scale. Firstly, we number all the notes, 1 through 8. Secondly, we identify the tonic or the first note. It's an E. So, thirdly, we write the E major scale and we number all the notes 1 through 8. Now, we circle the notes that are different to the major scale. And we find that there's a third and a sixth that are different and they've been flattened. What scale uses a flat 3, flat 6 formula? The answer is harmonic minor. So this is an E harmonic minor scale. Question 2. Number the notes 1 through 8. Once we've done that, we need to identify the root or the tonic note. And we know it's an A. So the next step is we write out the A major scale and we circle the notes that are different. In this question, only the 7th is different. It has been flattened. So what type of scale uses the flat 7 formula? It's a mixolydian mode. So this is an A mixolydian. It's straightforward and not as hard as people seem to think it is. It's just a spot the difference game. I hope that you found this video helpful and that it helps you to realize that identifying scales isn't as tricky as it may come across. Thanks for watching.